And what I'm going to do in this video is walk through every component of why I feel how I feel, why I'm putting the challenge together, and ultimately the fact that we haven't had a winner yet. I'm raising the bar, and we're going to be now offering $1,000 for the person who can submit to me via email to chris@life180.com. Can submit to me the original submitted illustration with a current in-force illustration that outperformed the original one. Now, hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? It's Chris with Life 180, and this video we're going to be talking about the Index Universal Life Challenge. I want to do a deeper dive into the challenge. I have yet to have anybody submit to me an original illustration with a current in-force illustration where the current in-force illustration beat the original submitted illustration. Now, before I get into all this, I know that eventually somebody is going to have an IUL that beats the original illustration. It is possible. However, it's not likely, and this just goes to show when everybody's like, well, as long as you design them right. Well, I got news for you guys. I've got over 85,000 views between TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube on views talking about the IUL challenge, and I've yet to have somebody submit anything. Now, with 85,000 views, I would think that I would have more people that would be stepping forward, that would be wanting to do some stuff here, that would want free money effectively. If there are supposedly all these people that are out there designing these policies properly, there should be these results. Now, before I get into this, I actually put together a slideshow when I want to go through kind of like the history of this. I want to talk to you about why I am so adamantly against Index Universal Life the way that I am. I know I have some people that I get a little bit of a bad rap from, thinking that I hate the product. I don't hate the product. I hate the way the product is sold. And what I'm going to do in this video is walk through every component of why I feel how I feel, why I'm putting the challenge together, and ultimately the fact that we haven't had a winner yet. I'm raising the bar, and we're going to be now offering $1,000 for the person who can submit to me via email to chris@life180.com. Can submit to me the original submitted illustration with a current in-force illustration that outperformed the original one. Now, here's the deal. This is what I don't want. I don't want a lot of bantering about whole life insurance and IUL and how IUL has outperformed whole life. That is not the context of this conversation. They are totally two different products, totally different risk profiles, totally different outlooks and use cases. Index Universal Life is sold as this product that has upside potential, downside protection, and with that, it is a product that has underperformed its promises. Now, it was created in 1997. Actually, I'm going to get into all this as we go. I get a little ahead of myself because I tell you what, I just get fired up. But here's the deal. I want to do this presentation. I put together this slideshow. I'm excited to get into it with you. And I think the rest of the commentary I want to have right now, I'll save for that. So here we go. All right, so here we go. Let's get into this. The IUL challenge. I'm really excited about this. And before I get into that, why did I do this? Well, I first started the IUL challenge because I look at life insurance as a storage vehicle for your capital. It is not an investment. Life insurance companies are not great companies when it comes to investing because there's a difference between saving and investing. Investing entails risk, has an inherent risk that comes with it, whereas savings has security and control of your money, right? And life insurance, one of the things that drives me nuts is all these Index Universal Life people out there pitching like the quote unquote infinite banking strategy. Even though I don't agree with everything about infinite banking, I do believe in 95 to 97% of what infinite banking is, right? And so from that perspective, I don't think any Index Universal Life agent should be pitching the benefits of infinite banking inside of IULs. Now, full transparency, what I'm seeing all over the place are PHP agents and especially World Financial Group agents that are trying to tell me that I don't understand what infinite banking is, and if I did, I would understand that that IUL is just a better way to do it. Now, it's not. The bottom line is, if we look at the past, we know that we just came through the greatest bull run of history of the market, right? Like we did. And with that said, I think it's time for them to put up or shut up. If the IULs offer upside potential and downside protection, that means these policies in the greatest bull market of all time should have outperformed the illustrated rates, because if they're not going to do well in this last decade period, that means they're never going to do well, right? I mean, that just is what it is. And the environment coming into the future, I think we are coming into a perfect storm that is going to be completely horrible. It's going to eviscerate index universal life policies. And I think what we're going to see is IUL is going to go the way of universal life and variable universal life, where they both effectively, for all intents and purposes, got decimated. And a lot of people got hurt. I know agents that had to move from their hometown where they were selling VUL simply because people bought into it so much and they lost so much money. I think index universal life is going to be a very, very, very similar story. So at the end of the day, what I'm doing here is I'm utilizing my experience as the former director of business development with National Life Group, which is the top IUL company in the country. And I'm utilizing that experience and my knowledge and my connections and the education that I got was there. Listen, I left there for a reason. If these things worked, I would still be there. I was offered a lot of money. I would be staying there. I would be doing what I'm doing, and I'd be selling these things still. But it doesn't work. So I'm tired of the illicit sales practices and the manipulation and the half-truths. And it's time for them to put up or shut up and prove it rather than keep preaching it. I'm tired of the trolls, and that's just kind of what I'm doing here. So let's go. So what exactly is the IUL challenge? Well, the IUL challenge, guys, is really simple. All I want is for them to submit the original illustration that they submitted with the policy, and then I want to see the current in-force illustration of the policy. Now, the one caveat to this is that it has to be at least 10 years old and it has to be out of the surrender period. The reason I put that caveat in there is because early in IUL policies, they have the ability to do fairly well. Life insurance companies that sell index universal life leverage the high cap rates, the high participation rates, the low spread rates on no cap products. They leverage those as marketing expenses. So they know they're not going to make money. They know they're going to eat it, but that's an expense to sell the product. And what happens is as the product matures and gets older and gets towards the end of surrender period, cap rates get reduced, participation rates get reduced, spread charges go up, cost of insurance goes up, admin charges go up, all these things. And unlike a whole life insurance policy, the risk is shifted from the insurance company onto the insured, and the insurance company is in complete control. I'm a big believer history has that habit of repeating itself. And since that's the case, look at the way insurance companies handled traditional universal life. Look at the way they handled variable life. When push came to shove, what did they do? Did they look after the policyholder, or did they look after the shareholders and stockholders for the company? That's what they're going to do again. History has a habit of repeating itself, and this is going to be what it's going to be. So the first person to show me an in-force illustration that fits those that criteria and emails me the in-force illustration with the original submitted one, I'm going to give $1,000. And once again, I know I said this before, but here's the deal. 85,000 views and no winners. That's why I raised this from $500 to $1,000. I would think that with all the people that say, well, as long as you structure them right, you know, they're going to do great. Well, either nobody structures them right or everybody's full garbage. And or maybe people are just lazy and nobody wanted $500. So I figured maybe $1,000 will do the job. So that's why we are raising it to $1,000. So let's look at this. This is the history. This is the greatest bull run in the history of the stock market. Look at the numbers here. And this is what I'm saying. Granted, I threw 2022 in here, and to date, when I'm filming this video, we're down 23.39%. But aside from this, effectively since 2009, we've had an amazing, amazing run. Now, during the last decade, cap rates have come down, participation rates have come down. They've now introduced new things, and I'm going to go through kind of the last decade in history of these IUL policies and just products in general, kind of the industry, and I'm going to show you why this is crazy. So it's mind-blowing to me that this is the case, right? So the history, let's go back. I just want to run through the history. I'm going to go through each one of these in a little bit more detail, okay? So 1997 through 2008, there were only a handful of companies. Now, like you saw on the previous slide, Transamerica was the first company to sell IUL in 1997. IULs had a really small market share up until about 2009, and that happened after the Great Recession. Now, at that point in time, these illustration wars started. Pac Life became the #1 IUL company in the country in 2009, which meant a major company was really entering the marketplace and decided to really put a focus on dominating and investing in the market space. Now, companies at that point in time were illustrating northwards of 9+%. In fact, in my conversation with Bobby Samuelson that I had on the YouTube channel, he said that he went to a conference in 2009, and one of the actuaries for these companies said it was morally irresponsible, I believe is what he said, to illustrate it under 11%. Okay, so it was absolutely the wild, wild west. And so that's why a lot of these policies that have looked like they're performing okay, they've underperformed illustrative rates because the expectations are so out of whack. And that's the biggest thing for me. It's not that they're horrible, it's that they're missold. And if your expectations are underperformed by a significant percentage, that has the ability to really hurt you, your future, your financial goals, objectives. And to me, anything we expect we can deal with. It's what we don't expect. And when that really derails us, and when we're dealing with a situation where people are buying this product and it's sold on these guarantees, so to speak, or this predictability, I'm a big believer that that is the greatest danger. And look at this, when you can illustrate a product that has positive arbitrage, I don't know if you know the danger that was done to people, and they probably don't even know it yet, the danger that was done to people that bought products and policies back then that were illustrated with positive arbitrage at 3%. And when you look at illustrations with loans for income in retirement, those loans are astronomical as far as like the amount of income that these illustrations could derive that would show you the income that you would get from them. It was absolutely insane. I was selling these at this point in time. Now, we were running them at National Life Group. We were running them at 8.5 to 8.9%, and we were told that was really conservative. We thought we were the good guys, or like whatever, selling these things this way. So in 2015, what happened was they introduced AG 49, and AG 49 was designed to kind of put the wild, wild west at bay, right? Like to really eliminate a lot of those crazy illustrative high rates, get rid of the crazy arbitrage, and they, for all intents and purposes, were mildly successful. However, they kind of opened Pandora's box in some other ways. Insurance companies, what they did, and this is just, I guess this is just a way of showing kind of the history of it. What happened was insurance companies are always adapting. So they create AG 49, and so then what happens? Insurance companies go out and they say, okay, if we can't illustrate that high, according to your rules, they found a workaround, and that's when they created multipliers inside of the policies. So if you see multipliers now inside of these IUL policies, this is where it was derived from. It was a response to Regulation AG 49 in 2015. Now that went until about 2020. In December of 2020, Regulation AG 49A came out. And this, guys, was I know it was designed to be a good thing. So they reduced the illustrative arbitrage to 0.5%, so 50 basis points. And that's a good thing. But here's the problem. And they did some other things with the hypothetical, historical look-back methodology. But here's the bottom line. They opened up Pandora's box even more, because now what's happened is, while they tighten things up, because of the way the rules are written, insurance companies are just going around it. They went out and they create their own proprietary indexes. They partner with like JP Morgan and Putnam Investments, and they do things of this nature, and they go out and they invest they get these indexes with hypothetical look-back periods that they cherry pick these indexes and these stocks to show performances, and then they put in little tiny fine print how that they are look-backs and there's no guarantees. In fact, they're probably not going to perform that well, and they have to put that in the illustration, but nobody reads the illustration, and they're not sold on that. So I'm a big believer that that these companies are complicit in the illicit sales practices that are going on right now, and I think it needs to stop. But no cap products were introduced. This is another thing that's really huge. With those no cap products, they introduced spread rates, because what was the argument? The argument from people like us that are whole life advocates because of the guarantees and the control that whole life offers people in their life, the argument was, well, insurance companies can drop your cap rates and they can drop your participation rates, which is a danger in the whole life policy. So now they started launching these products that had no cap rates, that had guaranteed participation rates of 100%, but they introduced spread rates. And those spread rates could be 7.5%, they could be 5%, they could go all the way up to 20%. And a spread rate is basically saying if you got a spread rate of 10, that means, and you're in the S&P 500 index, that means that the S&P has to return 10% before your IUL gets credited anything. And so at the end of the day, it's important to understand that these things are happening. So what's going on is, and in my conversation with Bobby Samuelson, I cannot take credit for this. Go check out lifeproductreview.com. He does some amazing content on this. But he's saying, and he's on a committee actually, where they're talking about eliminating the ability to illustrate positive arbitrage. They want to increase the transparency in the illustrations, and they want to potentially update the historical look-back methodology, the hypothetical historic look-back methodology. And if they do that, that is going to turn IUL on its head. That is going to take people like Doug Andrew. It's going to take people like Curtis Ray. It's going to turn them on their head. And those are the people, to me, that are really dangerous in this. Now, in my entire life, I've always been the guy who kind of stood up against bullies to people that were getting picked on when I was in high school and I was the athlete and whatever. I would do it, and I guess it's in my DNA. I have no choice but to do it now. And I just look at this where I feel like what these guys are doing, what WFG is doing, what PHP is doing, what these insurance companies are doing is going to have a negative consequence, and that the regulators don't always differentiate between what we do in whole life and what IUL agents are doing. And I really believe that there's a chance that there's a spillover from the fallout from the consequences of the illicit IUL activities. That's why I'm doing this challenge here. So it all comes back to this. If they couldn't perform in this market, why couldn't they now? Well, there are two reasons that IULs didn't perform and why I'm so confident that I'm doing this challenge. And while I think there may be somebody at some point in time that I'm going to have to pay some money to, which I'm totally fine with, by the way, because if they did it, they deserve the money. It is astounding to me that I don't have my inbox just blowing up with 30 emails a day from people saying, hey, here's some examples, give me my $1,000, right? Like it's mind-blowing to me. So there are two reasons that IULs didn't perform during the greatest bull market ever. A, we had this decreasing interest rate environment, right? So think about it. When interest rates are going down, they can't perform. And then we also had increasing options costs. So we had decreasing interest rates and increasing option costs. And you need to be able to understand options if you're going to understand how IULs work. And I'm going to get into that in a minute. And what bugs me, and this is the thing that bugs me the most, because listen, you know, maybe you don't know, but I'm on YouTube. I do a lot of stuff there. I've started to do a lot of videos on TikTok, and I'm really on there. So if you haven't checked out TikTok, check me out. Chris at Life 180, or Real Chris Kirkpatrick on TikTok. And when I see these people who've been in the business for 2 or 3 years, Bobby Samuelson says this the best. He goes, you know, the equivalent of watching an IUL agent feel like they've done it really well. It's basically like watching somebody that bought lottery tickets their whole life and they finally won the lottery and they get out and they won and they go, oh my gosh, look at me. I'm the best lottery ticket buyer in the world because I just won. So because I'm the best lottery ticket buyer in the world, because I obviously am because I just won, you should come give me all your money so I can buy your lottery tickets for you. That's the equivalent of these IUL agents. Like I said, the past 2 to 3 years, IULs have performed beautifully because of the fact that the companies have not reduced have not increased the charges through whatever lever they want to pull. But it's going to happen, and when the market changes and IUL doesn't have this bull market to lean on, these things are going to get eviscerated, and it's not going to be pretty. So here's the deal. At the end of the day, I've said this several times, and I just want to talk about this really quickly. IULs are simply an options product. It's not complicated. It doesn't matter if you have an S&P 500 index, if you have a different type of index like the Dow or the Russell 2000 or some sort of proprietary index. It doesn't matter if you have a no cap or what your caps are. The bottom line is the caps, the no caps, the spread limits, all of it is all, it all comes back to the fact that these are options products. And so what does that mean? That means it's all based on the general fund of the insurance company. So if we have, let's say, $10,000 of accumulated value inside of a policy, the insurance company then says, well, our general fund, and I'm keeping this really simple, really high level. It's a little bit different than this, but at the end of the day, this is if you get this concept, it's this simple. Accumulated value of $10,000, you know the general fund is going to perform at about a 4% rate. So what the insurance company does is they say, okay, we know we're going to get 4% on the money that you have deposited in the general fund. That's going to create a $400 options budget. And that options budget is going to go out and buy us options. But here's the deal. The cap rates, the spread rates, the participation rates, everything in the policy, the internal charges, the cost of insurance, everything that gives the return in that policy is dictated by what the options do. So it doesn't matter if you have a cap, if you have a no cap, if you have whatever, these products are going to perform based on what the options buy. Everything else is just noise. All the indexes and spreads and no caps and all these things, it's just noise, because at the end of the day, you have an options budget and you can go buy options. And whatever that option performs at is what's going to get credited to the policyholder. And if you look at all the different moving parts inside of the index breakdown, whether it's you got a 10% cap and that cap could be reduced to 3%, or if you have a 7.5 spread rate right now and it can be increased to 10%, or a 5% spread rate that I saw in Symetra that could be increased to 20%. I mean, this is insane. They had a 20% spread rate on their cap, like on their no cap product. That's insanity to me. Other ones have no cap products with no spread rates, but they have participation rates. And right now they're doing like 125% participation rate, but they have the ability to drop that participation rate to 65%, right? And so life insurance companies are masters at managing risk. Now, if they're managing risk for themselves, they know when you have your policy, they're going to set these rules up. It doesn't matter what index it is. It all comes back to the same. That's why when you look at the illustrations, the illustrated rate is all going to fall in the same kind of window of period of time. And once again, I don't think IULs are bad. I just think they're over illustrated. And I think if you illustrate an IUL at 4.5% as the expectation, I think you're going to be okay. But I think it's the fact that they don't do that that is the problem, right? And so that is that. Now, here's my call to action, guys. If I could, I'm doing this for the industry. I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for whole life agents. I'm doing this because Index Universal Life is the fastest growing and highest sold product in the industry. And I think it's really dangerous. I think it's because we have all these IMOs like World Financial Group and PHP and PFA and all these companies that are out there, and they're doing this, and they're just pushing this product. And I think it's really dangerous. I think it has, like I said, the potential to spill over and hurt our business in the whole life space. And more importantly, I think it has the potential to hurt a lot of people. And I think our job as agents who want to do this the right way, our job is to go out and serve people and help people and help people accomplish their financial objectives in the most predictable, guaranteed way possible. I mean, there's no guarantees. You're always going to have to take risks to get where you want to go, but that's our job. That's the way I look at it, right? And so I would ask that you share this with people, that you share the IUL challenge, that if you have agents or if you are fighting, utilize my content to be able to help fight this. I'm taking it. I'll pay it. Yeah, I'll pay the fee. Like, if you can't use that to counter going up against an IUL sale, I don't know what you can do. I know that this is going to work. Like, I know I need traction. I'm not going to lie. I need a little help. I'm getting blown up on TikTok. I'm getting blown up on YouTube by all these World Financial Group trolls that are just out there that just don't know what they don't know. And they just are blowing me up. And listen, I'm not going to back down because I believe in my heart this is what I'm called to do right now. And Caleb will tell you, I'm pretty steadfast with this. And when I believe in something, I'm not going to back down. And so here we are. I believe in this. So my only other ask for you is, collaborate with me. If you want to have me on your YouTube channel, I'd love to come on and talk about this. If you have an audience to talk to, I'm happy to talk to them as well. If you think it would help you sell more, help you connect, just elevate in any way possible, I'm happy to do that. And if you have anybody as you do that, that says, hey, I have somebody that wants to submit to the IUL challenge, just have them email Chris@Life180. Like I said, I need the original in-force illustration, or the original submitted illustration and a current in-force illustration. And it's that simple. And if the in-force outperforms the original, it's their lucky day. So anyway, so if you are a life insurance agent and you need help, if you are in the fight where you're trying to do what's right by your clients and you're coming against index universal life policies a lot, utilize this content, reach out to me. I'm happy to help you. Even if you don't work with our agency, if you don't work with our IMO, I am steadfast and committed to helping this cause and helping to make sure that people are getting the type of policies that they need to accomplish their goals. And I just truly believe in my heart of hearts, IUL is not that at all. If you're somebody who's looking at buying, or if you're an agent that's looking for help, feel free to reach out. If you have any comments or questions, comment in the comment section below. I do my best to engage with every single one. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, because it's going to get juicy on this. I'm going to keep pushing this, and I know nobody's going to be coming, I don't think, anytime soon. And even if somebody does give one, I'll probably keep this going, because you know what? I mean, seriously, the fact that I haven't been blown up by tons of people, I mean, if that doesn't tell you the whole story just on that fact alone, the fact that I'm not getting flooded with these situations of people wanting $1,000 is just mind-numbing to me. I just don't get it. So anyway, that's it. Have a blessed, inspirational day, and we'll talk to you on the next video. See ya.